This is the Podesta of We Are Change.org here with Tim Pool, another independent journalist, and we just made the awful, horrible mistake of watching...
Ladies and gentlemen, the last president of the United States.
Fahrenheit 11.9. How many Twinkies out of 5 Twinkies do you give Michael Moore on this one, Tim?
I wouldn't give him any Twinkies.
No Twinkies. Seriously, no Twinkies. This was like
None.
one of the most mind-boggling
Listen,
movies out there.
First of all, the movie is, I think it's like 2.5 hours, and it's entirely dejected. I had no idea. Look, it starts, and I'm kind of interested, and they're like, how did Trump get elected? And then it shows the media mocking Trump and everything. I'm like, this is interesting. And then all of a sudden, it's like, in Flint, there's a water crisis. And I'm like, oh, what does that have to do with Trump? And then it goes, in West Virginia, teachers are on strike. And I'm like, wait, what are you talking about?
In Parkland, there was a school shooting. And here's a montage of Hitler and how Trump is Hitler.
No, here's the best part. They show footage of the Reichstag burning while overlaying audio from 9/11. I'm pretty sure the Reichstag was a false flag attack. He blamed it on Poland.
Yeah, he explained how it was a false flag attack and how Hitler was responsible for it in order to galvanize the German public against him and pass the Enabling Act and get rid of freedom. And he was like, we're just one 9/11 away from losing our freedom. And then the person he's interviewing, he's like, no, we already lost all of our freedom. And Trump is coming, and Trump is Hitler. And then here's Parkland, here's Flint, and here's this, and here's that, and he's jumping all. It was like literally watching a YouTube channel of someone with like just a mental disorder, just flipping through different channels. It was just insane.
He played a Hitler speech, but played Trump audio over Hitler. And then, but here's the craziest part. So I don't want to say he's actually insinuating 9/11 was an inside job. That's what it felt like to me, showing the Reichstag with 9/11 audio. At the end, he goes, democracy didn't work. Our politicians aren't working, and the Mueller probe isn't working. So there's only one thing we can do, and then it shows a guy running through the street on fire. And I'm like, is he calling for violent revolution?
And then he did Hawaii. And then he talked about the Hawaii emergency.
This had nothing to do with anything.
Yeah, the Hawaii emergency thing. There was an emergency alert in Hawaii, and I'm like, what does this have to do with any of this thing? Putin was in the beginning, and he was like, yeah, of course, Putin.
They didn't even talk about Russia.
And Putin is responsible for getting him into office with no evidence at all.
Wait. He goes, in the beginning, he's like, how did Trump get into office? And he's like, well, there was Putin. And then there was James Comey, and then it literally jumps to like Flint and has nothing to do. I'm like, I thought we were talking about Russia and Comey. Yeah. What happened?
Okay, let's be a little bit fair, because I thought this movie is going to be way more sympathetic for you, because you're kind of like the more Bernie Sanders kind of social liberal. I'm more of the like Rand Paul kind of demographic. If you kind of do generalize it, if you do generalize it in that certain way, we both don't like labels, but that's mostly where we kind of trend. I thought this was going to be a movie that you're going to be like, yeah, I could understand some of it. I get some of this. I like some of this, but you're not even having this reaction.
Here's what I thought, because I talked to some people. And I said to someone, I don't know who to vote for, because I am a social liberal, meaning, look, I understand America's a country. We're a country with borders. We have laws, and you're presumed innocent until proven guilty. But the mainstream Democrats have pushed so far into authoritarianism, I can't support them. And I'm not going to vote for conservative values, which aren't mine, so who do I vote for? I feel like the illiberal reactionary left is excising people like me from the party, people who are calm, rational, free, believe in freedom, but also believe in social liberal policies. And I was told, dude, that's exactly what this movie's about. You got to go see it. And I went to go see it, and it's the exact opposite. It's them. Michael Moore champions the death of centrism and moderate politics, and then he calls for violent revolution. Well, I don't want to say he called for it, but he said, nothing else worked. You know what you have to do. And then it shows like a missile strike from Hawaii. I'm like, what the
And a guy running on fire. And he did insinuate it. He didn't call for it. He did insinuate it. But there were some parts. Okay, let's not totally crap over this crap hole. Let's give it at least some. There were like a few good points. Let's give it a little bit. Let's give some of the few points that were thought-provoking at least. And I thought what was very thought-provoking was when he had the president of CBS talking about Trump is great. The money's coming in.
Oh, yeah.
This is great for business. We're getting a lot of money, but this is horrible for the United States. So I thought that was a good part that he put in there. That one part of the schizophrenic kind of Asperger's display of the so-called resistance movement. And this is the reason why I believe it flopped.
They show this interview with Zucker. I think he's like the president of CNN. And they're like, are you airing the Trump rallies because it's newsworthy or for the ratings? And Zucker goes, yeah, we know. It's called the Trump bump. They want the ratings. The media put Trump in power, and Trump knows it. I'm pretty sure he's talked about it. He got so much free press from them ragging on him all day. And I always go back to one example. When Trump ordered that well-done steak with ketchup at the fancy restaurant and the media mocked him relentlessly for it, I'm like, you realize you're mocking, like, white working class America, the people who are going to vote. Now they feel like you're elitist pricks. And guess what? Time Warner, parent company to CNN, was funding Hillary Clinton. So what do you think the viewers of people watching CNN are going to think when they're like, wow, these are the people who support Hillary Clinton? Look, I grew up on the south side of Chicago. We would get, shitty steaks. I shouldn't swear, but we would get garbage steaks from the store. We'd fry them up well done and put ketchup on them. Why? Because we were poor people. So what do you think happens when the media rags on the Trumps on middle America like that?
Yep.
They vote for Trump.
Yeah, and there were some moments in there, like when he was going into how Bernie Sanders was just robbed and looted, where even in the delegation of, what was it, West Virginia, where he got 55 every county of the votes, and then during the National Democratic Convention, they're like, oh yeah, Hillary Clinton wins here. 19
votes for Hillary Clinton, 18 for Bernie Sanders, and someone's waving a sign that says Bernie won all 55 counties.
Yeah, and how they lied. He also got into, you got to give, it's a crap hole, it's a horrible movie, not well put together.
No.
But let's go over at least some good points. When he went after Bill Clinton, I thought that was good too. When he talked about how, and Obama, very effectively as well. But he's championing also the kind of bigger kind of problem here, and he's like, we're not a capitalistic country. We're we need socialism. We need communism. Crazy. And I'm like, wait. How did we get there? You're losing everyone in what he's trying to do.
I got to issue a correction. I'm going to give Michael Moore one Twinkie because he went after Clinton and Obama, and I was really impressed when he brought up Obama killing people in drone strikes, empowering imprisoning more whistleblowers than any other president, all of presidents combined. And I'm like, that's great because there are people who are going to see this and they're going to leave thinking a bunch of ridiculous nonsense for sure. But at least I can now relate to people when I say, Obama was kind of a bad dude, and they're going to go, yeah, I heard that, right? And I'm like, hey, there we go, we got common ground.
If people actually see the movie, because not many people are seeing the movie. There were 6 people. There were 6 people in the movie theaters with us, and again, like, just the way everything was portrayed was just all over the place, not well put together. Some of the few good points were actually good, but some of it was just total lies, total manipulation, total just propaganda that has no value or merit in truth. The few things that we're bringing up are the few things that, because this is our business, we fact check a lot of this stuff. Yeah. This is our like our zone that we focus in on and look at every fact and aspect of this, and we're like, this makes sense, and then, but like 90% of it was just outright lies.
The best part was when, it's got to be for shock value, Michael Moore goes, Donald Trump won because of this woman. And then it shows Gwen Stefani singing I'm Just a Girl. And he's like, Gwen Stefani, but let me explain. And then he says that Donald Trump only ran for president as a stunt and never actually intended to run. And I'm like, what? Trump's talked about running for president for decades. Didn't he run on the Reform Party or something?
He ran before and lost in the primaries.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, but Moore literally lied and said that Trump was trying to get a salary bump from NBC, and it backfired because NBC fired him. And I'm like, dude, you literally made that up.
Yeah,
that's fake news.
Not just lies, but also crazy amounts of hypocrisy. Every time he was like, he pretty much made the argument, white males are bad. Here is the white male sexual predator. Here are all the people in media who are predators, who were in the media, who promoted Trump, and it's all that. But then they forgot the main point. They forgot one of the main biggest points here, and that, of course, is that of course is how Harvey Weinstein was a major producer of this movie. The biggest kind of sexual predator in all of Hollywood, in the Democratic establishment, was a big part of this movie. And this whole movie was just absolutely hypocritical when it made those points because of just the back end of it, because it attacked one side of it and not the full side of it.
Stepping outside of politics, whether you're left or you're right, whatever, the point is, at random points in the movie, it cuts between talking about Trump and talking about Flint and talking about Parkland and talking about Virginia. And I got up and walked out halfway through and just checked my emails and stuff. 2.5 hours. Around 2 hours, I was like, this is it. Look, if you want to talk about Trump and Russia and Comey, I'll listen to you, even if you lie right in the beginning of the film. But then when you randomly switch to the Flint water crisis, I'm like, yes, I understand. It's a serious issue. I'd love to watch a documentary about it some other time. We're talking about Trump. And then all of a sudden it jumps back to Trump for 5 minutes, and I'm like, okay, finally, here we go. I get ready to sit down. And then it's like, in West Virginia, the teachers are on strike. And I'm like, what? I thought we were talking about the president. What are you doing?
Stay on point.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
Exactly.
Thank you, random guy who saw the movie with us. 1 out of 5. He's like, he does not stay on point at all, and it just goes over the place. The Flint stuff was important.
The movie shows Hitler, and then it plays Trump's voice over Hitler. What the?
Yeah,
Dude, we live in Wally World, La La Land of crazy. Like here's what I think. I don't think Michael Moore. I think Michael Moore knows what he's doing. I think he's a smart guy, and I think Michael Moore's base. They mentioned this in the beginning of the film. Michael Moore mentions this, that his supporters are white working class, like labor union guys. They voted for Trump because Trump was the one who opposed NAFTA. Michael Moore mentions how Bill Clinton pushed NAFTA through and it hurt Flint. And then why is it? Okay, so here's what I think. Michael Moore has always been a lefty liberal guy, but his base was always more so these white working class people who are now on Trump's side, and Michael Moore's base is split. So it really felt like he's trying to dance the line between how do I criticize Obama and NAFTA and Clinton? How do I go against Trump? No, I think Michael, and look, this movie bombed. It got like 2.8 million opening weekend. Death of a Nation, I think it's Dinesh D'Souza's movie, 5.5 million or something. And Michael Moore's film Fahrenheit 9/11 in 2004 hit 220 million at the box office. This is a huge bomb for Michael Moore. Granted, he's had other films that haven't done as well, but he had a film I think 8 years ago that did 14 million. You know, so this movie, look, that's my opinion. I think his base is split. I think a lot of people in Flint, not necessarily just Flint, but like the Detroit area with all the car manufacturing, they voted for Trump because Trump's trying to bring manufacturing back. And Michael Moore is now going against them.
Yeah, and he's losing that base with just bad all guns. Communism's good.
Yeah, whoa.
Yeah, the far left politicians.
Socialism?
Yeah.
It's weird.
It's weird coming from him, especially with his background and all the hypocrisy and the Harvey Weinstein being a part of this. I'm just left with a horrible, rotten. Twinkies expire, right, and become. Right?
No, I don't think so. I think they're like.
We'll find out. You guys will let me know. 5 nasty, decrepit.
I would look, everything. Jokes aside, stars aside, I would not recommend you see the film because the only reason I didn't walk out is because Luke refused to walk out.
John Podesta was in there. Podesta was in there for 5 seconds. He attacked Hillary Clinton and the whole establishment, and he's like, "Oh yeah, Podesta, yeah, hi," for like 2 minutes, not even. It's like, hi, bye, Podesta. Nothing serious. No gravitas. No holding truth accountable to anything. He sprayed some water on the governor of Michigan's lawn, and it's like, I did something absolutely pointless.
No, hold on. Let me say this. There's a point in the film, it's a big stunt, where he pulls up a big truck full of Flint water and sprays it all over the governor's mansion's lawn. And I'm like, I literally have no idea what that's to do with Trump. Why you're talking about it? Look, there's literally no reason for us to sit through 5 minutes of Michael Moore hosing someone's lawn with water. I'm like, I get it, dude. You did this. Yeah. It could have been 10 seconds. It could have been like with the funny music. No, and then he drops the hose and walks around, and it's like there's this whole sequence of him doing it. I don't care, dude.
Yeah. To me, everything's a lie. Coming out of this movie, I'm like, everything's a lie. The resistance is a lie. The whole protest movement is a lie. The whole opposition movement is a lie. Everything is just a lie.
He talks about how the Parkland students organized everything on their own. It's like, no, they didn't. They had an NGO behind them. Yeah. Like, dude, come on, man. Whatever the news is going to be, I think it's absurd to believe that, 12 or whatever students organized $100 million, I don't know the exact numbers, but this multi-million-dollar massive stage setup, the permits they had to get, the companies they had to hire. They may have organized it on their own, meaning like, hey guys, we want to do this, but they certainly had institutional power behind them helping them do it. The whole thing felt either disingenuous or outright lies. Yep. And you know what the problem is? Flint is in a serious crisis. I don't know where it's at currently, but when the first thing I see in that film is him lying about Donald Trump pretending to run for president, I immediately disbelieve everything he says after that. Yep. I can't trust him. Yep. When he says Flint, this happened with Flint and Snyder, Governor Snyder did this, I'm like, bullshit. Yep. I don't believe you. You're full of it. You lied right at the beginning of this movie. Why should I believe it? And now I've got to go fact check all this stuff.
Yeah, and then he has Podesta in there like some kind of good guy. Harvey Weinstein produces it. So much hypocrisy, so much pushing of mainstream bullcrap ideologies.
You know what?
Don't watch it.
You know what happened? He said, guys, we got to do a documentary about how Trump came into power. And then he kind of just horsed around and filmed a bunch of random stuff. And then when it came to the cutting room floor, when you're supposed to go, do we need an hour of like West Virginia and Flint? No, get rid of it. Keep it on point. Keep it on point. They were just like, who cares? Stuff it. Make it as long as possible. People will get bored, but they'll sit there and eat candy. So,
yeah. And you said it perfectly. 5 rotten Twinkies. No real Twinkies for Michael Moore. Thank you guys so much for watching, supporting real independent media.